Ah, shit.
When you press this, the area you just painted over will be filled in.
I'm
The
sorry.
background except for the person will be filled in. After making various adjustments, it looks like this. Next, I'll apply the finishing tone to the person. I'll use the quick mask to create it and paint it, just like before. I'll paint over the areas where I want to apply the same density tone. This is the 50% density area that I'm currently painting over.
So we're just gonna find one of the best ever.
Hello everybody, my name is Rin. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is making me mad. Contrary to popular belief, it's not easy to make me mad. I'm actually usually just mildly annoyed. But the topic of today's video is actually making me very mad. So we're about to have a fun time? Not fun at the same time, I don't know. Today's video is going to be about a very popular artist that you probably even come across. That is actually a creep and weirdo and very, very problematic.
Ay, tanggalin yung wifi. Shit. Ang lala, pinakamahal sa lahat. Kaya nga, I feel like it's not the tablet that I actually paid. I paid for the memories talaga na. Sobrang mahal. Ba't wala ng wifi?
But first, we have hit 70k Little Blind Mouse. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here for the tea. I don't think that it's fair to classify today's video as tea, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Little Blind Mouse is what I call my followers here on YouTube, because as artists, when you get a blank piece of paper in front of us, it's like we've never seen whatever the fuck we wanted to draw in the first place. We are Little Blind Mouse. Some artists, you know, maybe they shouldn't fucking draw. I'm just saying. Some artists, maybe they shouldn't draw. But I'm getting ahead of myself once again. Now, due to the topic of today's video, we will be talking about some really dodgy subjects. So if hearing about child abuse, grooming, and pedophilia is triggering to you, please click away now. Click away, go. Without further ado, the artist that we are going to be talking about is called Kawanossi, or Kawanochi, or Kawanonsi, for reasons that will become apparent in a minute. He's got 1 million Instagram followers, who the fuck knows how many on other platforms. The point is, you've probably fucking seen him. He's been in the art community for a minute. If you've done art in the past 10 years, you've probably seen him, especially in the early ages of deviant art. This is his art. Whimsical settings, beautiful coloring. It's really good art. It's really good art. His bread and butter or his animal crackers and jelly, since he fucking likes infantilizing shit so much. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The stuff that he likes to do is fan arts. It's mainly fan arts. But the issues began when he started making fan art of Sims 4 character, which happens to be a vampire of many hundreds of years. Well, you may say, what the fuck is the issue with that?
Nakaka-cringe na kayo.
The issue
Nakakairita.
is that he usually pairs this vampire with an original character of his, which is a child. May, this little girl right here. But don't worry, May is a child, but it's not really what you're thinking. Caleb is a father figure to her. He raised her, and now she's all grown up. I'm sure they've still got a wonderful parent-child relationship. She's pregnant. Let's just go through the comic together. How about we do that? How about we go through the comic together? I'm sure we're gonna have a grand, wonderful, amazing time. Right? Right? Let's.
Nawala ng wifi. Oh my god. This is getting bad. Ano na lang. Let's try na go towards...
Journey can be filled with some challenges. While many creators work in teams, some of us are just starting out. So before you dive into drawing all of those panels, here are some struggles that you might face when making a webtoon solo.
You make me nervous, not in a bad way.
Hey guys, it's Reen and welcome back to the Art Cave. As you can see from the title of this video, we're gonna be talking about the struggles of making a webtoon all by yourself. If my voice is a bit weird, it's because I am sick right now. I got something when I came back from the Philippines. Also, disclaimer, I'm just sharing with you guys what I experienced when I was making my webtoon. So yes, most of these problems can be solved by just hiring a team. But if you're just like me and we don't get paid to make webtoons, we don't really have that option. Also, some of these problems I don't really have a solution for because I'm also going through them and I'm just trying to figure things out as I go. So think of this as just like a heads up. Hopefully it will shed some light on the reality of making a webtoon. Number 1, the weight of multiple roles. So this means that you are the entire team. Script writing, sketching, inking, coloring, adding the text, uploading, and marketing. Each of these tasks require different skills and a significant amount of time, and sometimes juggling everything can quickly lead to burnout, which is what happened to me many times when I was making my webtoon. I've considered dropping this webtoon, this whole series, because I was simply exhausted from doing everything myself. So yeah, just be aware of that. Number 2, there's endless drawing. Think of drawing a single panel. That's easy, right? Now think of drawing 30 panels for a single episode. Now think of how many episodes you want to have. That's how much you have to draw for the whole webtoon series, and that's a lot for one person, which is why bigger creators, they hire people. I think a solution to this is to cut down on the panels that you have to draw. For me, I have some panels where it's just purely backgrounds, like you can't even see characters in it, and that like helps me cut down on the things that I have to draw. So yeah, but you can't do that for every panel. I wish I could. So my episodes are around 25 to 30 panels, but sometimes I want some scenes to flow more smoothly. then I add extra panels for that. So it really depends on how you want your story to progress. If you can tell a compelling story by like 10 panels, please share us your ways. I just want to draw 10 panels and like have a good story. So if you're doing that, please let us know how you do it.
Hello, oh
Number
my god.
three is actually two things,
I could do
which
that.
is perfectionism and comparison. There is a whole world of webtoon creators out there with better art, more engaging stories, and a bigger following. So it's pretty easy to compare yourself with them.
Kasi I really love
definitely felt
learning,
like
you know.
I wasn't good enough when I was starting out. I always felt like I had to make better art, which is where perfectionism comes in. I focused too much on making everything perfect, and I ended up delaying a lot of episodes because some panels weren't perfect, which is not a good thing. Trying to
Registered
make everything perfect
chemist!
will really hold you back
Napakagaling!
and take up so much of your
My
time.
God,
so
but-
my advice
Okay.
is
But I
don't
believe
think too
that
much
they are
about
more
it.
than
All
that.
of the people that you look up to,
You know,
they all
they-
were beginners at some point. So it's not fair to compare yourself because your journey is different from theirs. Yeah. Number 4 is the lack of time
I just-
and staying
I
consistent.
cannot
I don't
believe
think I have
someone
to tell
would
you guys
be able
how
to
much
pass that
time
demand,
it takes to
Zeman.
make a single
Naawa
episode.
ko eh.
But that's the reality when you're doing it alone. Especially if you're working full time
Pero-
or you're a student or you're dealing with personal stuff. There's not much time left for art. But you can't just leave your readers hanging, right? So you can't help but feel
Pero
a bit
feeling
trapped.
ko mas better
It's
pa
like
rin
no matter
kapag
what's happening in your
mas
life
ma-
right now,
mas
you just
okay
gotta
yung pamilya.
pick up the pen and
Pero
just
di ko
draw.
talaga
But a
naiintindihan kung
solution
bakit
for
ganun
this
talaga.
is what some creators would do before they debut their webtoon is they make buffer episodes. So buffer episodes are episodes that you've completed but haven't published yet. A lot of creators do this, like they make 5 episodes in advance before debuting their webtoon. So that gives them more time to make the next episode and stay consistent, which is a pretty good idea. I didn't do it because making 5 episodes straight away is quite hard and it will take some time for you to finish them. But yeah, it really depends. It's up to you. You guys can do this before you debut your webtoon. It's a good strategy actually. Okay, next is number 5, which is marketing and self-promo. I think this also goes with not even just making webtoons, but making art in general. But once your webtoon is finished, the next struggle comes, which is marketing. As a solo creator, you are not just the artist, you are also the marketer. So you have to learn how to promote your work, build your audience, and keep people engaged, all while creating new content. So this means managing social media accounts, creating promotional work, responding to comments, and engaging with your community. All of this can be time consuming and it takes away your ability to focus on the creative side of things, which is it's tough to juggle both, especially when you'd rather be drawing than marketing yourself. I don't really have a solution for this other than hire someone, do whatever you can and make good art, make a good webtoon. Right now I think quality is more valued and the algorithm will pick it up some way or another. Okay, those are the struggles that I've experienced or realized while I was making my own webtoon. So there are some lows, but there are also some highs that come with it. If you guys want me to talk about that in another video, let me know in the comments. If you're a webtoon creator and you also had some struggles making a webtoon that I didn't mention in this video, please comment them below. I would love to read them and we can trauma bond together. I'm just kidding. But most of all, I hope this was helpful to anyone who's planning to make a webtoon by themselves. It can be overwhelming to try and juggle like multiple roles and responsibilities, but the rewards of seeing your story come to life and connecting with
Is
an audience
so
makes it all worth it. So keep going and don't be afraid to ask for help or take a break when you need it. Good luck, guys. Alright, so I think that is all for this video. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me in my art cave. Please come again, hit the like if you enjoyed watching this video, and subscribe. We've reached 2.4 subscribers, which is insane. hello to the new subscribers. Thanks for joining the Art Cave. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Morning guys, so today I'm going to show you how I go about using the 3D models within Clips.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to share with you guys 3 things that you should do before I start my web.
Hi, welcome to Webcomic Storyboard, where I share storytelling tips and tricks catered towards webcomic creators. Making a webcomic takes a lot longer than I thought. You have to plan out your story, then your chapter, think about dialogue, then draw the characters and the background, color everything, then add text. It's a heavy process. It's like you are your own film production team. The camera person, art department, costume, hair and makeup, lighting, scriptwriter, ethic. Now when you have work, or maybe children or a sick family member, the process takes longer as you try to split your time between all your priorities. As I got used to working on my webcomic, I haven't been able to work on my blog as much as I would have liked. Initially, I planned to work on my webcomic in the few hours I have after work, but that hasn't worked out as well. I find that I devote my entire Saturdays and sometimes Sundays to making my webcomic, but because I didn't do as much during the week, I have more to finish on the weekends. I think one person said it takes them about 1 week to line art and 1 week to color. So if it took me the same time, but I do that work on Saturdays, that means it will take me 7 Saturdays, or about 3.5 weekends, just to line art and color. That's something I'm going to be working on, especially as my webcomic moves to an outside setting. I'll need to think about street design as well. Of course, I won't be devoting the entire week to my webcomic because I have other things I'm working on as well, like making YouTube videos, social media posts, experimenting and learning different ways to tell stories that captivate people, and spending time with my family. I need to find a healthy, suitable way to divide my time, which is another thing I'll be working on. The other solution is to break my webcomic down so a single chapter is a few pages long. Currently, a chapter in my webcomic is 20 to 30 pages, but maybe I'll make my next webcomic short 10 pages per chapter. Doing this tricks the brain into thinking it's done more work. It helps with feeling motivated and breaking the work into smaller bits, but as a reader, I do enjoy the longer chapters. I'll experiment later on my next story and see how it all goes. The other reason I think it took me so long to finish my first chapter is that I'm still a beginner. I'm not a highly skilled artist, and I'm not confident with anatomy or even making webcomics, but I still want to make my webcomic look good. The more experience you have at something, the less conscious energy you'll have to put in. It's like learning to drive or riding a bike. Yes, pros still put in effort into their webcomic, but for someone who's new, the dichotomy between effort and result will be different. I'm spending a good portion of my time searching up how to draw a head in a certain angle, or how to
Wait
letter
ko, be.
text in a
Masakit
certain
na.
way, or redrawing body parts many times. There's this thing in neuroscience where the more you do something, it's placed in the subconscious part of your brain and requires little effort to repeat that action. So the more webcomics I create, the faster I'll be at it. It will take time, and in the meantime, I also want to practice making more stories. So I'm thinking of writing some web novels, but it kind of goes back to my first video about being a perfectionist. Quality versus quantity versus practice. The webcomic I'm currently working on is mostly to get used to making webcomics. At the start, it took me days to make a single page. Now, it takes me a few hours to rough sketch, line art, then color. Thank you for watching. If this did help, please do leave a like. If you'd like more storytelling tips, tricks, and advice, do check out my blog.
Hi, it's Art, short for Artemy, and you can find me at CU Artist pretty much everywhere. I'm not posting my comic yet, but I do have plans on where I'm going to post it, and I just wanted to chat about that. Webtoon and Tapas do have a lot of built-in readers who are looking for comics, so while I think that is a good place to post, it is not the only place you should post. I also want to post on Tumblr. There's a couple of webcomics that at least started on there that I enjoyed. I really like Check Please, and I think that Heartstopper also started there. And I have a decent number of friends on there who would be interested in it being posted on the site already. But I did also want some more control, and just in case something weird happens with a different hosting site, I wanted my own website as well. So that is most of what I'm going to chat about today, I guess. Originally, I was using Google Sites. It was free, and I also used Google Domains to purchase my domain name, so it was pretty easy just to jump into that. I recently changed that, however. I found a small group of webcomic artists from doing Art Fight this year, and they are doing a webcomic ring. So between everybody's comic website, there's a little link, and you can go to another person's comic who is in the same group. And since I had my own website already, I thought, oh, that would be really neat. It's for indie comic artists. The rest of the people in here seem cool. It definitely seems up my alley. So I started to do the work for that, and then found out that Google Sites doesn't really let you do HTML a lot. They have an insert button, but it wasn't letting me insert the proper things for it to work. So I ended up spending a whole weekend pretty much diving into HTML in NeoCities. The people in the group were very kind enough to recommend there is already a base code that you can use for your comic, and that is definitely something that I was looking for while I was doing my Google site. I found a workaround that would have worked to be posting the pages. It just, I think, would have been a pain in the butt. So I'm definitely glad I made the switch. I have a lot more control over the whole website now. I just have to learn more and have the time to do more adjustments to the website. It is a lot of work, but I think it is going to be worth it in the end, and I am interacting with a cool community. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it is definitely fun and worthwhile to be participating in smaller comic groups that are not in the main Webtoon and Tapas space. So I just think it's really cool that that is an option that is out there. So I'll keep you updated if I have any more cool website shenanigans that are going on. But I hope this was fun to listen to, and I hope to see you tomorrow.
Hello. So this is going to be a pretty different video than I normally make. I told you at the end of my last video, the Suicide Squad one, that I wanted to take a little bit of a break because I was feeling kind of burnt out. But I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm working on scripts right now. But in that time, I've been working a lot more on my comic, Dark Phantom. Issues 1 through 6 are available now for free on Webtoon. Link in the description. You don't even have to pay for these ones. You have no excuse not to read them. Please read them. But I've had some complaints about how I've been publishing these comics, and today I'd like to just do a little bit of an unscripted rant at you. And if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, this is not a good example of my videos. They're normally scripted, but I'm just full of energy, and I don't feel like sitting down and actually writing a script for this video. So I'm just recording it, one take, no script, just ranting. If you know anything about comics, you know that the biggest name in selling digital comics is Comixology. They're owned by Amazon. They're pretty much the most trafficked comic book website out there. They have a huge selection, pretty much every Marvel or DC comic, indie stuff. They have their own subscription service, Comixology Unlimited, where you can get select comics for free. So, when I first started publishing Dark Phantom, I thought, Comixology must be the place to be. That must be the best place to be publishing comics. And they have a submit feature where you can obviously submit your own comic to be published. I do not recommend using Comixology at all. Don't do it. I've been considering jumping ship from Comixology for a while now, and let me explain why. Basically, what you have to do on Comixology is You submit your comic, which is fine, and it's not instant. It does not get published instantly. It usually takes a few weeks for the comic to actually get approved, which is, it's not ideal, but it's fine, right? They're not just going to accept anyone. They want to have a curated process. So it's frustrating because you can't just publish your comic immediately. Once you're done with it, you have to wait. But ultimately, I understand. What is less forgivable is that once it gets approved, it will then take a few more weeks, like pretty much doubling the amount of time it will take for your comic to get published. Because they have to do this guided view thing. And if you don't know what guided view is, basically, instead of reading the comic one page at a time, you keep tapping your phone or clicking the computer, and it'll go one panel at a time. This is very frustrating because you cannot opt out of guided view. If you want your comic to be published sooner, tough luck, pal. They have to implement guided view. You cannot do it yourself. Comixology has to get someone on their staff to implement the guided view system for you. If you don't want guided view, you have to have guided view. And it's even more frustrating because some moments just do not work. Like, they ruin the timing of some moments. Like, for example, Dark Phantom number 2. There is a moment where, spoilers for Dark Phantom number 2, where Dark Phantom enters a building and is immediately surprised to see these frozen people. It's supposed to be a shocking scene. You just turn the page and bam, there are those people. But Comixology, there's the scene of Rob saying like, oh God, and then instead of immediately zooming out to the frozen people, it zooms into another dialogue which is being said by the villain, Glacia, off screen. She's the one who froze the people. Do you see why that moment kind of loses something when it's read in that order? Instead of reading Rob's dialogue and simultaneously seeing the frozen people. Because ideally the frozen people should be the first thing you see. Dark Phantom's reaction should be the little additional thing, like, what is this? And then you see Glacia's dialogue, which propels you into the next page and continues the story. It's just frustrating enough, where it's like, it doesn't ruin the comic, but it's like, that's not how I intended it to be read, if that makes sense. Now, in Comixology's defense, they do have a very good customer service line. Like, I can email them in like a couple of hours. I will get a response that perfectly answers my question. They do not jerk you around. It's not like, well, we're gonna ask someone about them and then I'll pass you off to someone else. No, they have very good customer support. And I appreciate that, but it does not, like, you can't just ask them, hey, I don't want to do guided view, because you have to do guided view. That's non-negotiable. Another inconvenience with Comixology is that you cannot decide when your comic gets published. Once you submit it and then it gets approved and their guided view is done, they will send you an email that says when it will be published. You can't change that date. You can't, they won't send you a link that's like, select the date you want this comic to be published. It has to be this specific. They just choose it for you. You don't get to schedule it to go along with an event you may be holding or something like that. It's just, you can't tell your audience when to expect this comic to be published until I think it's usually less than a week before it actually goes out. I think it's just a day or two. It's been a while since it's happened. I haven't published a comic in a few weeks, so I don't exactly know how much time it is, but it's not a lot. You cannot decide when your comic gets published. That's another huge inconvenience that I wish they would deal with. I understand that they always want it to be published on a Wednesday because that's when new comics typically get published in the industry. It's frustrating, but it's fine. I understand that restriction. But let me decide which Wednesday. Once it's approved, just send me a calendar that I can click on an upcoming Wednesday, and that's when it will be released. Let me choose. Don't pick for me. It's infuriating. So, I've been on YouTube longer than I've been publishing comics. So I've gotten used to YouTube's analytics system. You know, say what you will about YouTube, and I've said a few things, but they have a decent analytics system, a very good analytics system. You can tell how much time people are spending watching your videos. You can tell exactly at what point most people will click off your videos, so you can maybe try to improve that watch time. You can see the search terms people are using to find your videos and your channel. Comixology has none of that. And look, it's a smaller company than YouTube, a much smaller company than YouTube. I do not expect them to have as perfect an analytics system as this huge Google conglomerate. Like, they may be the biggest name in online digital comics, but even then, digital comics is not a huge industry. But I think they can do better than they're currently doing. Let me tell you what the extent of Comixology's analytics. People can put star ratings on each individual issue of your comic, which is good. You can tell if people are enjoying your comic or not. Not many people have reviewed mine because nobody reads Dark Phantom, but it's still a useful tool regardless. And that's about it. Comixology does not alert you every time you make a sale, which, you know, it's frustrating, but maybe that would get annoying if I was actually successful and I would be getting a lot of notifications every day, like, you made a sale, you made a sale, you made a sale, you made a sale. I would be like, okay, I get it after a while. But here's how they do tell you when you make a sale. You have to, at the end of each month, you have to wait halfway through the next month. They will then send you a spreadsheet that tells you how many units you sold and how much money you made. That is it. They don't tell you which comic sold the best. They don't tell you how people found your comic, like it wasn't an external link on Twitter. Was it just searching on the website? Was it recommended to them by their algorithm? Won't tell you that. Won't tell you which individual comic sold the best. Won't tell you anything except how many units, how many comics you sold, not which ones, and how much money you made. That is not helpful. It's helpful to know how much money I made for, tax reasons, even though I'm making, $2. But I'd like to know more than that, please. I want to know how I can grow. I want to know how your website can help me grow my comic outside of just being a place to put it, and then I'm on my own from there. Okay, so you may be thinking at this point, Comixology is not a great website for a small creator like me. I'm sure they give priority analytics and stuff like that to DC and Marvel, but for a little guy like me, I'm not their top priority, which is very similar to YouTube now that I think about it. So I decided to go over to another popular webcomic website. That's a tongue twister. Webtoon. Webtoon is a lot more like YouTube. You publish the comic, and it goes up as soon as you hit publish. You post it for free. You do not make money unless you have a certain amount of subscribers and views, which will then allow you to make ad revenue. Again, much like YouTube. So I can see why it's a lot more popular for specifically indie webcomics than Comixology would be. And I have enjoyed my experience on Webtoon a lot more. I've noticed that I've been getting a lot more people looking at my comic a lot faster. So I recommend, if you're starting a webcomic, I recommend using Webtoon. However, there are still a lot of frustrations. Mainly that their analytics are also very, very bad. Let me tell you what Webtoon will tell you about your comics. They will tell you how many subscribers you have, when people like each individual issue, or I guess they're called chapters on Webtoon. I'm not entirely sure about the culture. And then how many individual views the series as a whole has. It will not tell you how many views each chapter has, just the entire series. How does that help me? I want to know which chapters are doing better than the others. Likes don't necessarily help that.
I really love this guy.
I'd like to know
Ang gusto ko talaga kita.
how much better each chapter is doing than the other.
Hindi talaga ako marunong mag...
And then there's comments.
I'm definitely not good
Comixology
at...
does not have a comment system. I believe they have a review system. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't dove into that. But they do not have a comment system. Webtoon does. However, I have found no way to be notified if someone comments on one of my issues. So, anytime I see that it's gotten like a little spike in views, I have to like scroll through every comic to get to the comments section just to see if anyone's posted something new, so I don't miss some criticism or maybe a compliment, if you want to give me compliments, that someone has left. All in all, Webtoon, I have noticed that I've been getting a lot more people noticing me on Webtoon. It's probably a better place to grow an audience since you don't have to force people to pay. I think in the future I may just stop publishing the Comixology altogether and just go straight to Webtoon. Now there's one more place I've been publishing comics, and that's Gumroad. I usually, since Comixology takes so long to publish comics, I decided Gumroad. I would, once it gets approved on Comixology but not yet done processing, I'll just post it on Gumroad, because I know that means that the same version of both comics will be on Gumroad and Comixology, if that makes sense. But just Gumroad will get it first, because Comixology is frustrating. And I like Gumroad a lot more. Now, it is not specifically built for comics. It's built for like all sorts of online creative stuff. Like, it's kind of like Etsy in a way, except more for digital stuff, I think. And I mean, it's not anything spectacular either, but at least it tells me like how many